When you go to buy food at the supermarket, you expect that to be vetted and that everybody has your best interest at heart. But I'm just going to explain to you how that's actually not true, even though you might look at something as innocent as potato chips. Now, they have a research team of nearly 500 scientists for those potato chips. That should give you a lot of confidence, right? But junk food like that will hijack your brain, just like drugs, like cocaine, like nicotine does. It actually get addicted. It kind of seems to make sense now when I see the Frito-Lay unveils horse meat flavored potato chips after the scandal in the media. It's like they were acclimating. People would be naturally drawn to it, they were hoping, because they were putting in all kinds of food anyway. And so it would have been a subconscious thing. Just like people do subconsciously to go in to buy something quick like a TV dinner or a Hungry Man dinner in this case, actually list salt 9 separate times. It's the equivalent of getting 2 days worth of sodium. Think about if you get young people who might buy 2 of these because they're hungry, because they worked all day for nothing, and they're starved to death, and they got to get up and do it again tomorrow and the day after, and they eat 2 of them. So now they got 4 days worth of sodium into them, and it's going to cause them grief the next day. It's going to wear them down. Think about when you go to the supermarket, you might want to buy Cheese Whiz. Everybody sees Cheese Whiz. It's easy. Whack it on your toast. It's fast. Give it to the kids. But Cheese Whiz doesn't even list cheese as an ingredients. And this is owned by Kraft. Kraft makes an enormous amount of products. They are in everybody's cupboards. And every kid's screaming at it, trying to get mommy or daddy to buy it when they go to the shop. But Kraft is controlled by the biggest tobacco company on the planet. These are the same people that have made millions die of cancer from 4,000 chemicals that are in that cigarette, that are hidden away in that cigarette. And they produce studies from universities for the last decades trying to link nicotine to the death. Because if you found out there was 4,000 chemicals in that cigarette, then you have to ask yourself, what are they putting in all the foods you're giving to your children if they were willing to do that to everybody for decades? Pretty simple question. And Kraft is using lots and lots of GMO modified foods. Think of GMO as a Trojan horse. And think of stuff like fat-free and low-fat as to be avoided at all costs. And this is because corporations and governments are sleeping together so much that we can't tell one from the other. Look at Michael Taylor. He was the spokesperson for Monsanto, the king of GMOs, and now he's the spokesperson for you. And just GMO soy has been linked to sterility, infant mortality, and birth defects across the board. And GMO has created this environment where pesticide use has increased, not decreased. And GMO is in your pharmaceuticals. There was 2 vaccine study participants who died during trials of GMO's flu vaccines. That's a frightening thing that they're headed into that particular route. Because GMO can have human genes, and does, engineered into them, and that there is a Polish resistance now that's growing and swelling to get rid of GMO. Just like Kenya has now banned all GMO Monsantos, Costa Rica is battling them, and India has signed a mandatory GMO labeling into law. And Hungarian farmers went out and burnt fields of GMO, killed everything they could find of GMO, and said no more. The world is not happy with GMO. The Hawaii Senate sat there and listened to all the evidence and then killed the GMO labeling bill. France listened to all the evidence, tried to ban Monsanto, and the EU killed that bill. So Monsanto is free to grow in France. Because regulators have discovered hidden genes in GMO crops. Cheerio recently got beat up because of GMO. And they can't get away from that anymore. You know, society is consuming stuff where there's 180 times more fluoride than tap water in their food, and they don't know this. They're unaware that they're being drugged. This is against their will. And when you do stuff like drugs, it's by body weight. And so this is indiscriminate. But it's not just that, it's bisphenol A that's just in the liners of bags and food. There's all kinds of fake ingredients in popular foods that this affects animals, plants, and soil. And in fact, it's killing off the bumblebees. What we need, we can't survive on this planet for more than a few years without the bumblebee. And they want to create a super bee. So maybe they killed off the old bees to create their own bees. As bizarre as that sounds, you got to realize they did chemtrail Vietnam for 9 years with Agent Orange every day. So there's literally nothing that they won't spend their money on or invest in. And when you think about you invest in your child's health, think about what McDonald's was putting in their food and still does, like putty and cosmetic and petrochemicals. And right now there's an action alert, just from a few days ago, that they're going to manipulate, again, the laws so that you got no say, so that the courts get no say. And so people better start using their voices. The time is coming when you won't be able to use your voice. You're living in that one time of society where we have this opportunity to use our voices. And we need desperately for people to stop cowering and speak out, because that's why they're doing what they're doing. They're poisoning our food, the water, and Earth itself. Matt Bittman had to come out and apologize. He said, "That was dumb of me, and I'm sorry," for running articles that he knew were flawed about Stanford's, claiming that organic food was no different, is what he claimed, than GMO foods. GMO corn has 14 parts per million of calcium. Non-GMO corn has 6,000 parts per million of calcium. 6,000 versus 14. GMO corn has 2 parts per million of magnesium. Non-GMO corn has 113 parts. These things are good for you. GMO corn has things in it that are so bad for you, even at 1 parts per million, that they cause organ damages. And GM corn can have 13, 14 parts per million of this stuff. So Stanford came out with a flawed study. Matt Bittman ran it up in the New York Times knowing better. Came out in October and apologized for it. In November, it came out through The Guardian that Proposition 37, which was to label GMO foods, was defeated after food companies spent $45 million to defeat it. In December, Oprah brings up Dr. Oz, who viciously hammers away at the organic food and once again pushes out the Stanford flawed study in order to indoctrinate the vulnerable people who, are just looking for some real true information from their hero, Oprah, and Dr. Oz, and they betray them. Look how Oprah got all of her money. Originally, she went out and found every degenerate she could find on the street, and she put them up on TV just to mock them, to humiliate them and their loved ones. Vermont looked at studies on genetically modified food and decided it should label it. Monsanto threw a hissy fit, fell on her back kicking and screaming, and yelled they were going to sue. Now, they didn't have to do that for Proposition 37 because you had all these politicians here that voted no to labeling it and killed the bill. Now, they looked at the evidence. They know that genetically modified food causes cancer, causes Alzheimer's, causes kidney issues. These are the people that you elected to protect you from all this stuff, and they know that it causes infertility. These people that were supposed to be protecting you understand all of that, but they can't, because if they label that, then they got to label the pharmaceuticals too, because pharmaceutical companies are the biggest lobbyist group out there, and one can't go without the other, see? And besides, look at the inbreeding that goes on between the government and Monsanto. This is huge money to push all of this through, and people are jumping on board. Another reason for this big push to buy up all the senators and Congress people and to get Monsanto everywhere is because starting this month there's a rat reality show where Russian scientists are going to broadcast GMO experiments. And once people see it for themselves, what's going on here, it's going to be really hard to get Monsanto anywhere. So they need to get it in there now, because it's going to be impossible to change the laws and to change all these senators who are already dirty and corrupt beyond imagination, who have no intentions of protecting your civil liberties or your freedoms or your food or your water. Absolutely zero intentions of doing that. They're there for the money, and that's it. And they know this Russian scientist broadcasting GMO experiments is going to really up the pressure beyond imagination on these people. They can't get away from it anymore. And so they need to infiltrate all the countries and all your shelves at your supermarkets, which they've already done. It's time to use your voices, folks. It's time to speak out. Don't let these people off the hook with this stuff no more. Don't be silent anymore. Just don't be silent anymore. Speak out.